The big ESPN viewer.
What?
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Did you watch me when I was on ESPN? Did you know me?
No. I'm gonna keep it real, Mike. I'm gonna keep it real. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you something, man. in my generation, it was two hot. It was two hot dudes.
Right.
Stuart Scott.
Yes, sir.
The late great Stuart Scott, and this man right here, Stephen A. Smith. What?
Yes.
Man, he is the hood ambassador for the sports world, baby.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on? How you doing?
What's up, Stephen, baby?
Mine too, man. We got Stephen A. Smith on the show. He's the face of the network, hanging out with us. We'll ask him what it's like to walk in his shoes and how will NBA players survive that bubble without popping that bubble, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, because they can't pop that bubble before.
You so nasty. You just nasty.
I'm dropping Jay, bro. I'm teasing the players right now. But later we'll be joined by Rashawn Ali and NFL player Josh Norman for even more sports talk. But without further ado, it's time to make it happen. Let's bring in the face, the voice, one of the best broadcasters in all the land, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. What's up, my brother? What's good, Stephen A.?
What's going on? Steven. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
Man.
Mighty Mike, what's up, baby? How you been, man? Long time.
That's my guy right there, man. I appreciate everything you've done, everything you being on the show with us here tonight, man. It's an honor, it's a blessing, man. But I got to ask you, man, how you been handling everything? I know you're on vacation right now, the COVID-19 social situations, man. You the voice. Talk to us.
It's crazy, man. I mean, it's like, you know, for the first 3 months, I didn't get a day off. We were on the air. The show must go on, and you've got to figure out and peel apart some of the layers of the sports and beyond to just have a discussion about things on a daily basis, because more people were at home, and even though there were no live events because the sporting world had just basically shut down because of the coronavirus pandemic, particularly when Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz, ultimately ended up testing positive and the NBA shut down the league that night. I think it was March 11th. From that point forward, I mean, you were just wondering what the hell was going to happen. So it was kind of scary because, you know, never in my lifetime have I, nor did I ever believe the day would come. I would wake up in the morning and there was absolutely no sports going on whatsoever. And you didn't have any definitive date to point to when it will return. And so that kind of stuff was crazy. You start looking at your own occupational mortality, for lack of better words, and you just looking at like, what the hell is going on here? What are we going to do? You know, but in the end, my attitude was, you know, people click on ESPN every weekday morning, 10 a.m. to watch First Take. It's my job to make sure I give them a show and to make sure that I'm peeling apart and finding things that are interesting and compelling enough to talk about. And not only that, for me personally, as you know, Mike, because you've been my boy for years, I don't just like talking about sports. I use sports as a vehicle and a conduit to get into a lot of other different things. And so because of that, it was a perfect excuse to get into it. Unfortunately, the killing of George Floyd, obviously that resonated. You're wondering about the coronavirus pandemic. You're listening to the president of the United States speak on athletes, speak on the world of sports. You see the whole kneeling issue return to the spotlight. You know, before it was Colin Kaepernick, now it was because of George Floyd, and then you piggyback to Colin Kaepernick. The list just went on and on and on. And we just ultimately found ourselves talking about it. And of course, Tom Brady deciding to leave the New England Patriots and going to Tampa Bay, and the NFL conducting business as usual, despite the fact that the coronavirus pandemic was going on, because it was their off season. And the only thing they did differently was have a virtual NFL draft. But nevertheless, it was still a draft. So all of those things are things that you knew people would be interested in because they were looking forward to a future where the sports obviously would return. And that was our way to get into a lot of things that we ultimately got into.
Let's talk about it, man, because like you said, you know, you're way more than just sports. And that's one of the things I admire about you, man. You transcend the world of sports. You're a household name right now. You get paid like a household name. You're the face. You're the voice of ESPN. I see you blushing right there, man. But let's get into some of these social things. Let's go deeper with this thing, man, because tonight baseball season started. And I saw something I never thought I'd see. I saw two baseball teams, Mr. USA, baseball teams, the Washington Nationals and the New York Yankees kneeling before baseball.
Yes. Well, times have changed. And the reality is that so many things have happened. You know, if you're an African-American or you're a minority in this nation, obviously you're operating from a disadvantage. We all know that. But a lot of folks outside of our community really didn't know that. They never took time to really listen and inhale and truly appreciate the disadvantage that other people had. And so when George Floyd ultimately was killed and essentially for the world to see, because it was on video for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you saw a white police officer hold his knee. As far as I'm concerned, it was a modern day lynching. You know, you don't have to get hung from a tree to be lynched. Sometimes, you know what, excuse me, you can have a knee on your neck while you're on the ground. As far as I'm concerned, that's lynching as well. And not only was the knee on his neck, but then you had 2 officers sitting on his legs, for crying out loud. And so when the world witnessed that and saw how egregious and how unfair that was, obviously the world stood up and reacted to that. And suddenly you had the commissioner of the National Football League talking about Black Lives Matter. You had coaches and executives saying the same thing. You had owners saying the same thing. You had a former presidential candidate in Mitt Romney marching with Black Lives Matter protesters, for crying out loud. You saw all of this going on. And so you just realized that it was a moment. You know, people called it a moment, but to me, it was more than a moment. It was a transcendent time. It was a new day. And basically it's the kind of day that says the kind of stuff that's been happening, folks are not going to just sit idly by and just take it any longer. Enough's enough. And when the sports world galvanizes the way that it has, I think that's a profound thing, because these are individuals that are in the public eye. You look at the reach that they have from a social media perspective, the financial cachet that they bring to the table, the influence that wields, and more importantly, their ability to impact revenue and the bottom line for other people. And when you see that and you just imagine the kind of impact that they can have, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing if they come together. It's a sorry thing if they don't, which is why when I was on TV the other day, I was talking about these NBA players. You know, you talk about having stuff on your jersey, you talk about taking a knee. I'm all down for that, Mike. You know that. Right. But I'm not into those symbolic gestures and just stopping there. You got to make a.
Hey, so Donnie, let's get into that, man, because, you know, we're going to keep it real on the show, Stephen A., because like I said, you my boy, you speak for a lot of people out there. And when you're Black and you speak and you have a platform and you don't say what Black people want you to say or what they want to hear, you're going to hear it. And there have been times, am I right, that you've heard it because you haven't exactly gone along the course that a lot of Black people want you to say.
I want to know why isn't he into the symbolic gestures? I want to know that, Stephen. Why are you not into that?
Well, first of all, let me answer Mike's question first, just for your listeners. What you see is what you get. Donnie, I never gave a damn what people thought before. I don't give a damn now. Let me be very, very clear. I say what the I mean what the hell I say. And it's just, that's number one. Now, if I'm wrong, I care. If somebody shows me the error of my ways, I care, because I want to be right and I want to be fair. But if I'm fair and I'm accurate, I don't care about the shrapnel of criticism that's going to come my way. That's the chair that I sit in. My man, Mike, I used to tell Mike, you want to sit in the chair like that when you giving your opinion, you got to be able to take that. Mike will tell you that. I said that to him on many, many occasions. You got to be willing to take that. And so we get to the point where me saying things that Black folks may not agree with. Well, you know what? This is what I want to remind people of. I'm not just a Black man. I'm a brother. I love people. And I'm not going to sit idly by and say stuff just to appease folks, but send them down a dead end or a dark alley upon which they'll never return or be able to uplift themselves. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to say and do things that I believe will contribute to the upliftment of my community. That is what I'm about. I'm not against any community, but I am about the upliftment of us, because we have obviously been operating at a disadvantage for centuries. So I say all of that to say this. When I'm talking about protesters or what have you, and I'm talking about symbolic gestures, I'm not against symbolic gestures. I'm just tired of that being everybody's default position, and that's all. There's got to be something. Like, for example, if George Floyd gets killed, right? You certainly want to protest. There's no question about that. You want to bring attention to brutality on the part of police officers and things of that nature. You want to make sure that you support Bubba Wallace when he's talking about getting rid of that Confederate flag, or Hill, running back from Ole Miss, that you know what contributed to getting rid of the Confederate flag in Mississippi, because we know what that represents to minorities. But why stop there? Why not sit up there and pool your resources and connect with a lobbyist and go up on Capitol Hill and instigate making police brutality against unarmed black men a federal hate crime? Why not develop a black pack? We talk about a PAC, a political action committee. I call it the Black Pack. You could take 20 of the top paid players in the NFL or the NBA rather, or you could take hundreds of professional athletes, and each of us, you could include people in the media like myself, because I'd be down with that. We contribute to this pool, and we also make sure that we hire a powerful lobbyist. Why? So us, combined with that lobbyist who knows exactly where to go on Capitol Hill to talk to the politicians, just like you got companies out here manipulating politicians at every turn by padding their coffers and what have you. Professional athletes can do the same thing. These are the policies. These are the laws that are important to us. Make sure you pass this, please. You want this money for your campaign? You want to get reelected? Here's what we want you to do for us. That's how the game is played. We could do things like that. And what I'm saying is, if you kneel and you protesting and you get somebody to kneel and you get somebody to apologize or all of that other stuff, what has that really accomplished if there's none of those kind of actions that follow it? My answer would be nothing. And I'm sick and tired of symbolic gestures. You know what? They apologize for killing Martin Luther King. They apologize for killing Malcolm X. They apologize for a lot of things that have happened, a lot of the iniquities that have taken place throughout American history to the African-American community. But guess what? If that wasn't followed up by civil rights legislation, voting rights act, and things of that nature, we wouldn't give a damn. Even while we have that stuff, we still complaining about stuff that has happened because we know stuff is still unfair. So why settle for the symbolic gestures when we don't have to?
Get that action. You got to have that action. You got something to say, Donny?
Well, that was beautiful. I totally agree with him. You couldn't say it no better, brother. Real talk.
Hey, let's take a quick break. We're going to be right back with Stephen A. Smith to get him get some opinions about some of these headlines that's making news right now in the world of sports. Be right back. Back on the Mike and Donny show on Fox. So Mike Hill, Donny Harrell, talking to the one and only Stephen A. Smith. Donny, I see you smiling. You want everybody?
I want to see my man Stephen A. Smith smile. I always see him mean mugging. I just want to see my man smile because he always got some good points. And, you know, when you give him good points, give him a smile, Stephen. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, you know, listen, man, I laugh. I joke around in the whole bit. I got a crew of friends that I grew up with, crew of college buddies, my family, my sisters, my daughters, everything, man. I live a beautiful, beautiful life. But, you know, when I'm intense, I'm intense. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I like that.
Let me ask you about, because you know what you say was on your mind. You unapologetic about it, and that's why you so great and why you making so much money and the voice of ESPN and the face of ESPN right now. But you piss some people off in the NBA, the NFL. You say what's on your mind. Athletes come at you. I know you had a spat with Kevin Durant once, man. Overall, though, what's it like being Stephen A. Smith, knowing you're going to get the good and the bad?
Well, first of all, I get a lot of love. I get a lot more love than people realize, number one. Number two, you know, it's not a soapbox per se, but I can stand anywhere and I can sleep very, very well at night because, again, I pride myself on being fair and as accurate as I possibly can be and almost never getting personal. I mean, it's like there are a couple of times in my career where stuff got a little personal and I said, you know what? I kind of crossed the line here. I didn't mean to do that. That ain't my style. There ain't no room for that. I'm a professional. But it's just like sometimes people try to punk you. And you're like, wait a minute now, you know, not whether or not you could beat somebody's behind or vice versa. It's what you're willing to go down for. If you right and you stand for something, then it is what it is. And for me, when it comes to professional athletes, collegiate athletes, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm so appreciative of the greatness of these athletes and what they bring to the table. A lot of times when you see me going off on them, it's not that I'm maligning them. I'm so disappointed that they put themselves in a position to be maligned because I know how others are going to come at them. And it's my way of saying what you doing, what you doing, what you doing. If I get on cats, I got a bunch of ignorant people that get on me about you know, what I say about weed, stay off the weed and all of this other stuff. And I had to bring my man Snoop Dogg and a few others on my shows on a few occasions. Have I ever complained with y'all about smoking any weed? They like, never. I said, I only complain about the cats who are losing money because of it. That's the message that I'm trying to get across. If a guy get himself in trouble, you know what? There's certain obvious things that you don't do. You don't murder. You don't rape. You don't hit a woman. You don't do a whole bunch of stuff. That's a given. But there are other things because you're associated with a sports league and they've got a commitment to ingratiate themselves with corporate America. You got to be mindful of the dollars that they're guarding, and whether they agree with you or not, they're going to have to make a move if you do something that alienates a sponsor, because that's where they're getting their money from. You can't sit up there and have this mentality. I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. Y'all kiss my, you know what? I don't give a damn what any of y'all say. Oh, by the way, can I have your money? It don't work that way. If you
so
ask
they gotta abide by the rules, right?
Right.
They gotta abide by the rules. So how them NBA players gonna abide by that rule of being in that NBA bubble for 2 months without, you know?
Well, listen, let me say this to you. Let me say this to you and answer the previous question quickly this way. When players come at me, all I would say to you is this. You can get every player that has ever hated on me. You can get any player that has ever had a problem with me. You can pack an audience in attendance and put everyone in front of my face. I'll show up by myself and defend every position that I have taken right in front of everybody. And we'll see who's right and who's wrong based on our position. As it pertains to the bubble that you're talking about, here's what I was saying. I wasn't calling anybody out. They ain't none of my business. I said players who are married, their wives, players who got a girl, that's their girl. You're supposed to be away from them for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months. Really? Really? Damian Lillard said it best. Even when 100% of the rules are in your favor, we break them. So what would make you think they ain't gonna break them now? And so that was my point. It's like the NBA, they wanted to be in Vegas. You wouldn't let them be in Vegas. Why do you think they wanted to be in Vegas? You think they just wanted to go to the casino? That's the only reason they wanted to be in Vegas? They wanted to strip. Now, that doesn't mean strippers, but they wanted to strip. They wanted the freedom to be on the strip and to do what they want to do. Why did I make the suggestion about New York? Because even though New York suffered the most amount of deaths than any state, like over 32,000 people died, originally, they have flattened the curve. The city is thriving a little bit again. They're back in business, like in phase 3 or 4 or whatever, as people wearing their masks, they're wearing their gloves, they're engaging in social distancing. And on top of it all, Disney World is twice the size of the city of Manhattan. So why wouldn't you bring him here in New York City and do it that way and have them play at the Garden and Barclays Center? But nobody listened to me. In the end, what it comes down to is this. Most dudes are going to be professional enough to follow the rules, et cetera, et cetera. But damn it, we're men. It ain't going to be. It's not going to be. Can we just say that and leave it at that? It ain't going to be easy.
Yeah. And let me tell you something I like about Stephen A. Smith. And I don't know him like that. I just been watching him for years. He has a lot of integrity because he never be snitching on anybody. And he knows a lot about the players. You know what I mean? I always hear him say, I know things, but I'm not going to say that. You know what I'm saying? So I like that integrity about you, brother, because, I know a real dude, a snitch dude, and all that. So
I would never do that.
Integrity, man.
That's part of the rule. I would never do it. Ain't none of my business.
Right.
It's a personal business. I tell players all the time, just stay off the police blotters. Stay off the police blotters. And other than that, all I'm focused on is your game and your performance. Other than that stuff ain't none of my business. Ain't none of my business.
And I do know him well. And one thing I do like about him and respect about him is if he says it, like he said, he's going to be in the players' faces. He's not hiding in the studio. He's not hiding behind a desk and waiting for you to come to him. He's going to the arena. Stephen A. Smith doesn't just sit in that first take desk. He's always in the arenas, in the locker rooms with these players, talking to them after he's talked about them, if he has something to say about them negatively or positively. But
I try to find them. I try to find them before I talk about them. I try to call them or go to again. Look, you might not want to watch First Take tomorrow. Okay. Here's why. Now, if I'm wrong, feel free to talk to me and convince me. If I'm right, I'm just telling you it ain't gonna be good. I mean, literally, I've done this before.
But you brought up,
and I'm not gonna change in that regard.
If you were in the NBA, you're in the bubble, and your safety was at hand, would you snitch? Would you call? Would you call the hotline there, Stephen A. Smith, if somebody was breaking the rules?
I might. That might be the first time in my life I do snitch. I mean, you got the Rona, man. You could get the Rona and bring it back to me. That's entirely different. Now, see, what you do is your business. But when you could catch something that you can ultimately bring back to me and everybody around us, now that's a different ballgame. I cannot play us for snitching. I think I might. And remember, I'm going to the bubble. It's not like I'm staying home. They sending me to the bubble next month. I'm going to the bubble, man. I'm going to the bubble. I'm going to the bubble late August or early September. I'll be at the bubble. Now, it won't be 22 teams there. I'll probably get there when it's down to 8 for the conference finals, NBA finals, that stuff, maybe the semifinals as well. But I'm going to the bubble.
Oh, you know when he going down? He going when you can bring your family members. You can bring people.
Yeah. He going when he can bring his shorty. You know what I mean? Because you never hear Stephen about having a shorty. He gonna go when he can bring his shorty down there, so he gonna be.
But see, I got a cardinal rule. I never, ever, ever talk about my personal life, especially when it comes to me and a woman. The woman that you will know that's in my life is somebody who will be Mrs. Stephen A. Smith. If she ain't Mr. Stephen A. Smith, I don't talk about my business like that. See, those are the brothers that end up getting in fights and stuff like that because they messing with somebody, right? And then they break up, and then that woman get with somebody else, and they're like, "Oh, she used to mess with Michael or somebody." You see what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff that y'all get. I don't get caught up in stuff like that. My business is my business. When it's Mrs. Stephen A. Smith, everyone will know who that is. Until then, I have nothing to say. I plead.
Thank you, Stephen, because Mike always trying to do that to me on the show, trying to make me get talk about some shorties, and I'm not doing it because they're not Mrs. around.
Well, Mike got celebrity. Mike done going celebrity on us, man. Mike done going Mike crazy, man. But Mike hilarious with that. But I ain't mad at him, no. I ain't mad at him.
Are you gonna get married anytime soon, man? I mean, you just that.
I don't know. I mean, life is good. I'm living a good life right now. I'm incredibly happy. But my focus is on fatherhood. My focus is on, because I lost my mom 3 years ago. I lost my dad 2 years ago. I'm the patriarch of the family, and just making sure that I'm doing a lot of things. I've been on a mission for a long time to do a lot of the things that I'm doing right now. Things are ascending and growing to such a degree. You're sort of torn. On one hand, you riding this solo train and you ascending and you good. On another hand, you like this. It don't mean anything without somebody to share it with. So you go through that back and forth emotion from time to time. I'm sure I'll get married someday, but I'm not in a rush.
You've always given me some advice, man. Can I give you some words of wisdom, man?
Sure.
Person that you are, spotlight all the money that you have when you do find that one beautiful person. Out of all those beautiful words that you use in your vocabulary, use one other. Prenup. There you go.
well, that's automatic. I had that drawn up years ago. You know what I'm saying? The only thing missing from that is a signature. That's automatic. I'm sorry.
Already. I do want to ask you about one sports story, man, that came out. Actually, I know you're on vacation. We appreciate you hanging out with us on your vacation, man.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson about to get back. I know you're a boxing guy. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, when you getting in the ring.
I don't like it for Roy Jones one bit. I'm very, very, very nervous.
Nope.
Because see, here's the thing. Roy is one of the greatest we've ever seen, and one of the greatest showmen. And he's a Hall of Famer, and we should always revere him. But obviously, when Antonio Tarver took him out in round 2, and then Glenn Johnson took him out, he was never the same. And so, he ultimately became a journeyman or whatever. It just didn't seem to have it anymore. And he's the kind of person that can go in the ring and look good and then get caught and all of a sudden go. Well, that was from light heavyweights and cruiserweights. Now you talking about getting hit by Tyson. I don't care that they 12-ounce gloves. I don't care that Mike Tyson is 54 years old. He's Mike Tyson. Right. We said a lot of things about him. We said a lot of things about him over the years.
10 years ago, when Peter McNeely was knocking him out. Now, I still know it's Mike Tyson, but
listen, I'm saying is that it wasn't Peter. Kevin McBride beat him, and that was his last. So he knocked out Peter McNeely. But what I'm saying to you is that Mike Tyson, we could say he was out of shape. He wasn't interested. He was older. He didn't take care of himself. He was distracted. All of these different things. The one thing we have never said about Mike Tyson in his life is that he couldn't hit.
That's right.
And if he hits Roy, I'm concerned because I love Roy and I want Roy to be okay and I want him to live a long and fruitful life. And I've seen Roy fall before. He has scared me, and I've told Roy, I'm not speaking out of turn. I've told Roy to his face, I love him. He's a good brother, and I don't want him to fight anymore. After I saw a couple, maybe he went to Russia and got knocked out. What I'm saying is, Tyson's Tyson, man. I'm not comfortable with this. Let me be clear.
Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about it over the next couple of months until the bout there. My man, we really appreciate your time here tonight, man, on Fox. So we're going to let you go, as we know you got to get up in the morning, even though you're on the vacation, man. So we appreciate your time hanging out with us, man.
No doubt, man. Anything for you, bro. Proud and keep up the good work, man. You take care of yourself. Donny, pleasure meeting you, bro.
Nice to meet you too, brother.
Thank you for all your support, man. Everything you've given me over the years. I appreciate that, man. Always giving you flowers while you're here.